Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning, and welcome to our Strategy, Policy and Finance Committee meeting. Today, the 18th of August, 2016. I'd like to, Your Worship, good morning, councillors, fellow councillors, members of the public, to the media, to our staff, and obviously to our Te Tātou o Te Arawa members as well. No mai haramai, welcome this morning. Oh, I mustn't forget too, those who are watching live. Nice to have you with us this morning as well. So I'll take any apologies, please. I do have an apology from Councillor Donaldson. As you know, he's on MBE board business at Crankworks in Whistler, but there are no other apologies. So I'll have a thank you. Yes, thank you. Oh, so, yes, thank you. Thank you. Yes, so it's been moved by Your Worship, seconded by Councillor Sturt, that Councillor Donaldson's apologies be accepted. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, thank you. Are there any declarations of interest? Carl, thank you.
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
Sorry. The Council Code of Conduct requires elected members to be prohibited from participating in any council discussion or vote on matters of which they have pecuniary interest. That has been interpreted by the DHB that their board members have not been permitted to take part in discussions on the Health Hub because of membership of the Council and or membership of RECT, both of which are financial parties to the transaction. So I wonder, could we have clarification, please, from the Chief Executive, because my understanding is that technically that would require Councillor Sturt, yourself, and Councillor Maxwell to declare a conflict of interest and to not participate in item 4 on the agenda.
Yes, Councillor.
Now, speaking to the point of order, Madam Chair, that's one of the reasons why I resigned from the DHB. It has nothing to do with the pecuniary interest. The pecuniary interest is where I am going to benefit personally from a decision of the DHB. What the DHB tried to do was silence Councillor Raukawa-Tait and myself from a conflict of interest because they believed we were conflicted. We totally disagreed with that. We refused to leave the meetings, and there have been no ramifications in terms of Audit New Zealand. But the problem with the DHB, of course, Councillor Kent, is that everything is done in confidential, 80% of the agenda. So we were not allowed to comment about any of the issues that were going on between the DHB and the Rotorua District Council only at this table, because at a confidential situation. So we weren't allowed. We were hammered publicly if we went outside the DHB meeting. So I just felt it was a waste of time being there. I was there to represent the community who had elected me, and that's the reason why I resigned.
Thank you, and in response to that, I withdraw the comment that Councillor Sturt should be included because, of course, he is no longer a member of that board, but perhaps we can still have clarification from the Chief Executive.
So I think there's a couple of points to comment on. The first one is something that Councillor Sturt has already clarified, and that my understanding is that there is no financial interest involved in health issues by being a member of the DHB. So there is actually no pecuniary interest, in fact, evident in the situation. The question, as Councillor Sturt clearly highlighted, is there a conflict of interest? That is actually up to an individual councillor to declare and to decide whether they do have a conflict of interest and whether they can actually participate in the discussion.
But surely pecuniary interest includes participation in a financial contract?
Through the chair, no, that's not correct. It's actually if the individual is actually a beneficiary, is going to receive or could receive in some form or other some financial benefit or advantage.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
for consistency in relation to point 5, recommendation 3, the land exchange on Peterika Street, at that the first time we discussed it, I did raise
That's right.
an interest if that could also be
That's right. you
noted
did.
similarly for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Urgent business? Yes, Councillor Bentley?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I feel that under the confidential part of the paper today, that subject could very well be not held in secret. It should be a part of the open meeting. Why do we resort to secrecy when we're discussing such matters?
Oh, we've done this. We've had this discussion before where names are mentioned, and I'm not going to allow that to be in public. And it's not in secret. It's actually in confidential. There's quite a difference, and we've had this discussion before. So that will not be. That will remain in confidence. Sorry, Councillor Whipper.
No, you mentioned it, Councillor Raukawa-Tait. I just actually took exception to the word secret being used.
Yes. Oh,
I
well.
really believe that confidential and the reasons for confidentiality we have to actually spell out as a chairperson every meeting now, don't we?
That's
just
right.
to remind people what confidentiality actually means.
Yes.
So I just...
Yes, thank you. Yes, Councillor. Sorry, yes, Your Worship.
I wonder if it is pertinent at this point to point out what items we discuss in confidence. If the Chief Executive could give us that overview. I'm a little tired of the secrecy agenda because if we all understand what items we discuss in confidentiality and how they are released publicly, that may clarify the matter for those that seem to get the issues muddled.
No clarification is required. We know. We've been here for 3 years. Some of us have been here for longer than that. So there's no clarification, and it comes up every meeting, and I'm just not going to play those games. Yes, Councillor Sturt.
Chair, I support the ruling you're making from the Chair. We are talking about individuals, whether we're going to accept them or not accept them, and we want to talk about them personally. That is a matter of confidentiality. There is no report in the paper that the matters will not be released to the public.
That's right.
At the appropriate time. So it's not a secret agenda going on here.
No.
I'm sick of it as well.
Thank you, Councillor Sturt. We'll move on to the confirmation of minutes. This is our item number 4. Minutes of the Strategy, Policy and Finance Committee meeting held on the 21st of July 2016. May I have a mover and a seconder? Thank you. Move Councillor Sharank, seconded Councillor Whipper. Any discussions before I put on the... Thank you, Councillor McVicker.
Madam Chair, just a clarification, page 11, Polynesian Spa, I presume we will have an update on the outcome there.
Oh, yes, there is, I think, something to comment on that.
So through the chair, councillors will be bringing a paper up on this to the council meeting.
Is that going to full council prior to... thank you. Thank you. Well, I'll put that motion that the minutes of the Strategy, Policy and Finance Committee meeting held on the 21st of July 2016 be confirmed as a true and correct record. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, thank you, carried. Now, the minutes are, yes, this is the other one. The minutes of the Strategy, Policy and Finance Committee hearing re the local approved products policy held on the 1st of April 2015. Now, let me get this right. These hearings, the reason for these hearings minutes that they haven't been adopted before now is that, and I think you'll remember, is that they would normally have been included with a report for decision making on this policy. However, Council had deferred bringing this to the committee for a decision until further direction was received from central government. That's right, I can recall that, yes. And this, as this is the last meeting of the triennium, the minutes will need to be confirmed, and that's correct, isn't it? Because otherwise they would not have been. So that's the reason for those, and you would have had that. Thank you, Councillor Whipper. Thank you, Councillor. That's right, so we are confirming those. So thank you. So all those in favour, please say aye. Contrary? Okay, carried. Thank you. Right. Now we have a verbal report from our youth councillor, one of our youth councillors, Shanaila Barrett. Good morning, Shanaila. Shanaila, isn't it? Yes. Shanaila. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, Shanaila, and welcome. You're a current member of our Youth Council.
Kia
Thank
ora,
you.
Madam Chair. Me mihi tuatahi ki a koutou kasua ko huhui mai nei i raro i tēnei whare i tēnei rā. Me mihi ki a korua i runga... me mihi ki a korua hoki me tō tātou rangasira Raukawa-Tait rawa ko koe me Chadwick. Kia ora. Kia ora everyone. My name is Shanayla. I am the Chair of Youth Council this year. Today we've placed our format for our report for the 3 Ps, and that is past, present and planned. So today I'd just like to discuss our past month's actions, what we are planning at present, and what we plan to do in the future. So our past month, youth counsellors have been on our school holiday break. We are currently leading up to our preliminary exams and our final exams for NCA level 1, 2 and 3. Our July meeting reviewed activities like Matariki Star Search, where some counsellors were involved in the helpings at our local library, where we had searched for young stars to shine bright with their talents. Our portfolio reports. Recently in the year we've delegated a section or more likely a department for each counsellor to look at, so that may be in tourism, that may be in sports, or local events that Rotorua has held this year, and just progressing on that, we're doing our tracks have been really good. It's going quite well. We had a presentation raising awareness around upcoming local elections. Good luck to everyone. Our slide 1. Okay, so we've met with council and youth centre staff to focus our annual youth event with the youth centre's December summer splash at the Blue Lake. Note on the slide here it says no water events, and just for any questioning, that is because of increased safety. So we want to reduce the risk of anything happening this summer. Council will help hopefully by approaching others outside of in our wider communities for volunteering or to help out in our event this coming summer. Summer Splash, so we are working with the youth centre to help hold an event for all youth. So this will be for each community, and it's not just one section of the community, it's not just one school, it's for everyone to bond, and I think that's what we really need in Rotorua at this moment, is not just one school and the other school separate events, and they've never really bonded. I think it's best that we have a whole summer event where everyone can enjoy their time and their games and, bond. The slide over here is it's our ideas, so small Vegas games. It's an idea of what we might name our event coming up. These are the suggested games of what we could do, and every game we are trying to link to a specific council message. So if you see aligned to council issues is the road safe, so drunk glasses. Kids will participate in games where they have enabled vision, or they'll experience what it's like to do things, unaware of what the consequences will be, and I think that's a great message, and if we can address that, that'll be great. The spatial plan, the survey, so what kids want, what we want to do, it's best to get their ideas and not just a small group, and I think if we go out into wider communities it makes it much easier instead of just addressing one thing that I may think is vital but someone else may not. We are inviting other departments within council to step forward to help volunteer, or if they'd like to come out and help with any station, that would be great. We are thinking of trying to get council's messages out, as Rotorua youth aren't aware. Some may be, but some may not be, and it's best to get our voices out. So if we are inviting any other departments to stand at any store they'd like. The aim of the day is to engage with youth in a fun way and to encourage more participation and the bonding. The goals for the day to spice it up to make it fun is to the first team to reach 500 points by participating in each game, with a range of points from 5 to 40. We are still planning this. We're thinking on 10 stations, and we're thinking of highlighting the most valuable, the most safe, and the most fun games. So yes, yeah. Coming up is the Glow Fest, and council will meet next week with the organizer of this event to help not only with Martin Croft to give our ideas, but to also most likely advertise word of mouth, as we want everyone in the community to participate and we want everyone involved. So events over the past month have included sharing our youth-friendly invitation to the poverty workshop. It's tomorrow. This will include a range of different kids from different schools giving their own ideas or their own sort of ways to reduce our poverty within our communities. This will enable a youth voice and also enable youth participation. For the duration from 12:30 to 1:45, myself and 10 other students will sit on a panel where we will discuss and brainstorm ideas on how to reduce the poverty, on how to tackle the poverty, and I think this is a great way for us to get involved into more serious things. Messages we sent through social media and schools with a number of young people. To conclude, I'd just like to highlight our recommendation for our report, which is that the Youth Council report be received and council departments be encouraged to support our end of the year youth event.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for that report. A lot of activities that you've undertaken just in the last month, or a lot of work. So thank you for that. I know there's quite a few people who would like to ask a question. So happy to take questions, Shania.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kia ora koe, hine. Tino pai tō kōrero. Just one on the successful Matariki Star Search. Is that going to become an annual event? The only reason I ask is that out of that came some very talented people out of our community, that even our own groups, like even our Lakeside committee, where did this talent come from? But yeah, the question being, is it going to be an annual event?
We'd hope so. I'm thinking of working with the organisers again, because it was such a wonderful event and there were some beautiful stars in there. And I think watching them so and watching the auditions and helping out, that was a great success for not only just council, not only them, but the whole of Rotorua, and I saw it as such a beautiful thing. So I'd hope that there would be future events coming up. Yeah.
We'll work on Chris.
Yeah, we'll definitely work on it.
Thank you. Councillor Sturt.
Just two questions on the Star Search. Firstly, do you see it getting bigger, brighter and better? You know, like Stage Challenge started off as a very low key, with very few schools involved, and now it's a 2-day thing. Do you see the Star Search getting bigger along those lines? The second question is a challenge to the Youth Council. Could you as a Youth Council consider one Youth Councillor being a member of any of the portfolio groups if they're requested to be a member of those portfolio groups? One I'm in charge of is sport and recreation, and we would like a youth focus on that. So after the election, if the Youth Council people are requested, would they be interested in being involved in some of the portfolio groups?
Addressing the first one, yes, I do think that Matariki Star Search will improve. The message behind it, the Matariki, is the multiculture, and I think that was beautiful of how they aligned that with the message. I do think that Rotorua has so much talent, and it's very hard to find. They have to want to do it, and with it getting more advertised, with the word getting out, and with these beautiful girls and these beautiful boys who have so much talent, if they see those people succeeding, it'll definitely want them to succeed. So with the matariki, it just has to grow a little, and I think as such a stage challenge, it will. With the portfolio work, I definitely think council would be interested. With the youth voice being out there, it's better, it improves us all, and yeah, I would definitely be interested. So
Sorry, Councillor Tapsell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kia ora, Shanella, for your presentation and your report. The Summer Splash sounds like it'll be a great event. When we first ran it, it was actually with the intention of getting community feedback from the young people who attended to see what the main youth issues are for young people in Rotorua. Will there be any form of engagement at the event? Or is that something you guys would like to look into?
So we will be taking surveys of what the kids want or what they see as problems. We've done that at recent events too, at the Youth Week event, where we took surveys and we take under consideration every youth's perspective of Rotorua, and I definitely will do that again this year at the Summer Splash event. Yeah.
Thank you. Ms Morrison?
And just an acknowledgement, really. Shanela and one of the other youth councillors participated recently in the brand workshop that council held, and I also attended, and they made an impactful their participation and their presence, and it was really great to have their view included at the development stage of things. And I think when we first came onto the board, I think that was what the challenge was, is how do we get the youth voice in at the start of a process rather than at the end. So well done to the youth councillors, and well done to the council staff for finding ways to get their voice heard.
Your Worship?
Congratulations, Shanela, and if you pass back to the Youth Council, it's been a very productive year, and it's much more linked now to the workings of this council. It's exciting to get the challenges from you. I'm just interested to know tomorrow what would be the top issue in the Tackling Poverty workshop that you would put to the workshop attendees.
Tomorrow, my own personal views would be focusing on those committees who are low decile, so they are not participating in anything other than, drugs and alcohol, really. And that is really what I want to address as would be in the poverty, is trying to get kids out of those ways and trying to prevent them from leading into bad lives. That's my...
Well done.
Good. Mr Berriman Kim?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Kia ora. Excellent presentation. Thank you for that. One of the things, I'm relatively new to this group, having just come on board this year. I think a lot of exciting stuff is developing through, and it seems odd when you talk about a youth council, but my question is about succession planning. You mentioned that a number of students are doing prelims right now. In terms of youth council for next year, because you've got a lot of good stuff happening, and then of course, do you think there'll be a core group of people that will be continuing on, or will most be moving on, and new youth councillors will come in? What's the sort of age range, or is there? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
cool.
do.
Come on.
We currently range from year 11s to year 13s. So obviously the year 13s will be moving on until university. We have one of our members who just got accepted into health science at Otago, and it's been amazing, a journey with him and watching him grow, also in council but also in school. Those who have been quite busy, as council takes on more than just, council. School is definitely hard, we've found, to balance, but the kids in this group are just amazing, the way they do it. I do think that there'll be a few, like our juniors, our babies, they'll definitely continue, I hope, as they grow. They're just amazing, the way they can stand, the way they speak, their ideas that they contribute, it's amazing. So I hope, and I think they will continue on to next year. Yes.
Thank you very much, Shanela, for your presentation this morning. It's been very thorough, and you've produced it, and commented on it very well indeed. So thank you for that. I'd also like to thank you on behalf of the Mayor and the councillors for your good wishes to us in the upcoming election, and I'm sure you extend that to others here present today who are standing for election as well, not councillors, but who are hoping to make it too as well onto council. So thank you very much for your coming along this morning. Thank you. Yes, and the recommendation, it has been noted. I won't put the recommendation, but it has been noted, and we will certainly take that on board. So thank you very much indeed. It doesn't have to be put. Thank you. So thank you so much. Our first staff report, recommendation 1, the delegations to the Chief Executive during the interim election period. May I call for a mover and a seconder to receive the report? Delegations to the Chief Executive during interim election period be received. Thank you, Councillor Tapsell. Thank you, Councillor McVicker. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary? Thank you, carried. Good morning, Una.
Good morning. So, councillors, this paper here it is a requirement that we do at the end of every triennium, and it is for this committee to recommend to council that during the period on the day after the declaration of the elections, up until the new council is sworn in, that the powers and responsibilities and duties of the Mayor and Council are delegated to the Chief Executive. And that period is likely to be from about the 12th of October through till about the 28th of October. And I'll just take the report as read, and if there are any questions, I'll happily answer those.
Can I just ask, with the change in the, it's probably about 2 years ago now, the Local Government Act, is there anything different in this report or these delegations than from previous years?
No, it is exactly the same.
Thank you. That was my question. Councillor Stewart.
Madam Chair, that I was questioning, the election is held on the 8th of October, and this report states that this is likely to be a period from 12 to 28th of October when the delegation transfers to the CEO. I have no problem with that. But then on the 27th of October, it is planned that the swearing in of council occurs. So between the 8th and the 12th is the area that I'm a little bit concerned about. Do we all stay in office until the declarations have been made? Is that the situation?
I thought that was the case, but I'm not sure.
I'm just looking over at Rick, our Deputy Electoral Officer, and just wondering whether he would like to come forward and explain that technical one.
So are you saying, are we councillors up until the 8th? Is that what the 12th? I see. Yes. So there's a gap there. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. The election date is at noon on the 8th. At that date, there's a indication around 2-3 o'clock on what the new makeup of the Mayor, councillors and community boards will be. That will be confirmed on the 12th from elections.com. So Councillor Sturt is right, is that period there. However, the new council will be sworn in on the 27th. But yes, the 8th is the cut-off.
Thank you. Councillor Sharank.
As a matter of interest, really. So, number 3 talks of any urgent decisions. They have to call an extraordinary council meeting. So, what kind of decisions would the chief exec make, for argument's sake? Una, can you give us an idea?
So
what is the difference between an urgent matter and a chief executive deciding?
It would be a civil defence emergency if that was needed to be called, would probably be the best example to use.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thank you, because I understand that normally the Mayor is the only one who can call a civil emergency. Is that correct? Thank you. Councillor Gould, in your worship.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple of questions. On page 23 of the report, you said at top paragraph, at the same time as the EU members come into office the day after the public notice in the newspaper, we have two newspapers in town, the Rotorua Daily Post and the Rotorua Review. Is it the case of the first newspaper publishing the results?
No, the public notice will state what the situation is there, and so as soon as the public notice appears in the paper,
So it'd be the first paper publishing the public notice. It might be on a Thursday, which would be the Daily Post. It might be on a Wednesday, which might be the Review.
I'll just correct you there. The public notice can also be our website, so it will come out. So it can be whatever way. It won't just be the newspaper. So when we get that declaration and it's official from Warwick Lamp, that will be published. It's most likely be out on our website before in any paper, and then it will run through the series of publication papers following that.
Okay. Now, second question. Recommendation 1 on page 22, 2.c shall be reported at the first meeting of the U Council. Am I right in understanding if the U Council is sworn in on the 27th of October, the Chief Executive will make a special report on what's happening up from the 12th of from the 9th of October until the 27th of October?
That is correct. And at this point in time, just so that I guess we don't get fixated on inaugural council meetings, those dates are just tentative, and it all depends on subsequent timing and training through the local government NZ as to when that inaugural meeting will actually take place.
Third question. When the Chief Executive makes that statement, does he make the statement before the U Council sworn in or after the U Council sworn in?
He will do that as part of his report before the new council is sworn in.
Your Worship?
Yes, just some clarification around the civil defence and emergency management process in the interim and in transition, because we've got that Tangaroa civil defence and emergency exercise planned in the middle. Is that something that Stavros leads with the Chief Executive and the role of the Mayor in that? And councillors need to be aware of that. We're not having another meeting. It might be quite good if we were updated on our approach to that civil defence exercise at council meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Stewart.
One further clarification, and in Rick, through you, Madam Chair. On the 27th of October, the swearing in, that is the formal, ceremonial process of the swearing in. We've never ever had a formal council business on the night of the swearing in. A subsequent meeting is called to receive the report of the CEO and to receive a recommendation from the Mayor in terms of committees, committee structures, memberships, those types of things. Am I correct?
Partially correct. So you are right. The inaugural council meeting is the swearing in ceremony. At the beginning of last triennium, we actually adopted the annual report, and that was due to timing. What we are looking at doing for this triennium is separating those two. So we will have an inaugural meeting which is dedicated to the swearing in and councillors doing their declaration. At that meeting, the council will make a decision on when its first ordinary meeting will be, and then that will contain your general business and that.
Community boards, I believe that the swearing in ceremony of full council should also include those community boards, because they have a statutory role under the Local Government Act, and they should be sworn in at the same time. They haven't been in the past. They've had a separate swearing in, so I believe from day one we should show an element of unity in terms of acknowledgement of the rural and the lakes community boards at that swearing in.
So just on that, we do have that planned. So on the day, we will have a series of inaugural and swearing-in sessions, and that will include the Lakes Community Board and our new Rural Community Board.
Thank you. Well, we've had our discussion, and now I'd like to call for a mover and a seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor McVicker. I'd like to perhaps take both of them, both 2 and 3 together. Are there any... Sorry, do you have some further business there? Sorry, Councillor Kent.
Just a question, Madam Chair. With respect to the Rural Board, since they have already been elected, how does that impact on this?
Yes, that's a good question. But I still think it, they've got to go through the due... Is that correct? I'm not sure.
So in terms of the Rural Community Board, there will be no need to hold an election on that one. However, they do not come into being until they are sworn in, and that will be done at the same time as Council and the Lakes Community Board.
Thank you. Thank you. Right, thank you. I do have a mover, Councillor McVicker, and thank you, Councillor Gould, for seconding. And we'll take 2 and 3 together. 2 being that subject to the limitations set out in Clause 32 in brackets 1 of the 7th schedule to the Local Government Act 2002, the committee recommends that Council delegates all of its responsibilities, duties and powers to the Chief Executive for the period from the day after the declaration of the election results until the swearing-in of the new Council, subject to a requirement that the Chief Executive may only exercise this delegation after the following. A. Consultation with the person elected to the position of Mayor. B. May only attend to those matters that cannot reasonably await the first meeting of the new Council. And C. Shall be reported to the first meeting of the new Council. And 3. That if any urgent decisions arise in this period requiring significant political input, then an extraordinary Council meeting will be called. We've had a mover and a seconder. I'd like to put both those 2 and 3. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, thank you, carried. Thank you very much. Right. Recommendation 2, our staff report. This is the update report regarding the transfer of Tamatea Street to Te Tahuna Trust. May I have a mover and a seconder that the report be received, please? Thank you, Councillor Gould. Thank you, Councillor Hunt. I'll put that motion that the report regarding the transfer of Tamatea Street to Te Tahuna Trust be received. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, thank you, carried. Hello there, kia ora, Carla and Dave. Good morning.
Kia ora tātou katoa. Kia ora, Madam Chair, Your Worship and councillors and members of Te Tātou. Madam Chair, if it's all right, I'd like to just take a moment to acknowledge a few people that have helped on this journey.
Kia ora.
First and foremost, special acknowledgement to the late Morris Meha, who was instrumental in bringing this to where it is today, and to his whānau who's here today, his sister, and also to the whānaus and tupuna of Ngāti Tamatea Tūtahi, to the Te Tahuna trustees who are watching via live stream today, and also to the Tamatea Street residents who have been really helpful and supportive during this process.
Yes, thank you for that. It's really important that those people, not only those that have gone before, that those who have contributed to bringing this around be acknowledged. So thank you for that, Carla. Kia ora.
So unless otherwise instructed, Madam Chair, I'll take the report as read.
Thank you. Dave, do you wish to add anything at this stage? Then, thank you. We'll certainly open it up for discussion. Councillor Stewart.
I speak to support the recommendation under 2, and this holds in line with a policy we called the Maori Road Lines policy of many years ago, where Maori road lines, because they were multiple owned Maori land, could never be sealed, curbed and have stormwater on them. And the first one was Nixon Road. We then did the road out at Oahu, and we've done several roads as funds have allowed us. What this occurs is Morris actually approached me a while ago because he understood I'd pushed the Nixon Road one at Ngāpuna, and I also want to pay a tribute to Modiora Kingi, whom I went to with the query, and we've got another one coming up in Nongataha, which they're working on, through Monty's working on at the moment. And what happens is the Māori owners go to the Māori Land Court and ask that a trust be set up to vest the road, and council can then treat it as a public road with certain parameters, as it says in the report. So I applaud the team. I also want to join you in paying tribute to my mate Morris. I went to school with Morris, and it was very sad passing last year. It certainly affected us. I was overseas when his tangi was on, so I just want to pay that tribute to the whānau as well. So I support the recommendation. It makes sense. It's good practice, and it moves a thorn in our side that Tamatea Street has been for many, many years, and I encourage my colleagues to support the recommendation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a query with regard to Tamatea Street once it is handed back to the owners. Are we still comfortable with having full public access in this? I'm meaning things like rubbish trucks and service vehicles that may well want to have access to that place.
I read in the report that there is full public access is to be a condition of it. Okay, yes. So that is, and we've seen there it's already been given, obviously, for the other vital services. Thank you. It's in the next report. Thank you. Mr. Berryman Kemp.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for your report, Carla. Just a couple of questions that I wanted to run through. Were there any particular issues or concerns that were raised by the Trust, and how have they been addressed? So that's the first question. And the second one is, are there any outstanding issues or concerns? I don't get that feel from the paper, but I just want to double check.
Kia ora, thank you. So no outstanding issues. I think the main issue is just that the land is transferred back to Ngāti Tamatea Tūtai. And any ongoing is just making sure that the whānau, the public, are kept informed and have that continued access.
Ms. Morrison?
Just one question in relation to the public access, and I understand the need for that, it's common sense. But would you say that encumbrance is quite standard in this sort of transition? And I just want to get a feel for, are there encumbrances on there that are above what is norm for a like type transaction?
I think what makes this particular transfer unique is because there's a recreation reserve at the end of Tamatea Street. So because of that, public access must be upheld. There are instances on private land where public roads are stopped and kept private roads, and there's no need to have public access. But yeah, the unique point of difference with this is the recreation reserve.
Thank you. Councillor Kent?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I support the content of the paper, and I'm happy to move to.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Kent, and we're doing, two. Moved by Councillor Kent and seconded by Councillor Stewart. And that the committee recommends to Council the following: that Council's submission to the Māori Land Court supporting the declaration of Tamatea Street as a road line includes the provision for full public access, thereby supporting the public submissions received, and B, that Council waive the requirement to vest stopped public road as Esplanade Reserve under Section 345 of the Local Government Act 1974. I have a mover and a seconder. I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, carried. Thank you very much. Recommendation 3, the Land Exchange Perarika Street Reserve. May I have a mover and a seconder, please, to receive the report, Land Exchange Perarika Street Reserve. Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by Her Worship, seconded by Councillor Hunt. I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, thank you. Carried. Good morning. Thank you very much.
Good morning.
For your overview, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We pretty much take the paper as read. We addressed this at two SPNF meetings ago. That meeting identified the areas of exchange and the purpose behind it. As a requirement under Section 15 of the Reserves Act, we then had to go out to public consultation, receive submissions, and then the council needs to make a final decision to go towards for the information to go to the minister after assessing that public consultation. So this paper re-identifies the earlier submission points and then gives you some feedback on the public consultation, which Robbie here has been dealing with and is happy to take any specific questions on. Thank you.
Thank you for your report today. On page 45, the submission by Peter Faulkner, has that been passed on to those two previous bidders? Now, are they happy to withdraw theirs, or happy that with the responses from Peter Faulkner that the land is to remain a reserve?
Responses go out to the submitters after the council's gone through the report, and we've had your feedback as well, so that they get a complete picture of the process and what's been decided. If I sent out a response to the submitters now, I'd have to send another one once this meeting's concluded.
Okay. Your Worship?
I just congratulate you, Rob and Robbie, because this is another piece that needed tidying up. I think the community story behind it is St John's can get on now and undertake their building program. So these are complicated processes through the Crown. Well done picking your way through it with Pukeroa Oroa-Whata right beside you, and it's great to get this signed off this year.
Rob, have we had an indication from the Department of Conservation that they're likely to approve any application that comes before them? It would be good to know that.
The last indication we had, which was about 2 weeks ago, is that we're on a waiting list to be appointed a statutory land management person.
Councillor Stewart.
I just seek clarification if you could put the map up, please. Just a clarification I need. I mean, the area that we're transferring or exchanging for the blue area is all the areas inside the yellow and the red. Is that correct? So does that mean the demise of the skate park?
Through you, Madam Chair, the area that we're exchanging is the blue area, all the area in these yellow,
the other way around.
Orange, brown area.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. If there
I've just been run by 4 or 5 people, and I just wanted, I knew
Oh,
the
thank
answer,
you.
but I just wanted that to go on the public record.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me. I'd like to put 2 and 3. So, thank you, Councillor Weber. Thank you, Your Worship. It's been moved and seconded that the committee receives and notes the submissions. 3, that the committee, after considering submissions, recommends that Council confirms its resolution on the land exchange made on the 23rd of June 2016. Moved and seconded. I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, thank you. Carried. Recommendation 4, the Library Child Hub. Library Child Hub construction contract update. May I have a mover and a seconder to receive the report,
I'll move,
please?
Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Stewart. Thank you, Councillor Hunt. That the report Library Child Health Hub contract update be received. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, thank you. Carry. Thank you, Dave.
Madam Chair, I'll take the report as read. Really, there's nothing to add. This is a machinery item in terms of contracts over a certain size need council approval. The absolute details of the contract have not been determined because we're still at the stage of the detailed design. However, if we don't go for a pre-approval, then actually it's going to significantly challenge the timelines for the completion of the project, given how much construction time is required, because of course if we miss now then we're effectively into February. A competitive process has been followed to determine who a construction contractor would be, and we're going through a sort of dual contract process. So the contractor is currently working up into the detailed design to make sure that the detailed design can be built within the 12.8, and of course any approval here to enter into the contract is subject to the total cost of the contract being within the $12.8 million total spend that Council has voted to the scheme.
Thank you. I'll invite any comments from councillors. Councillor Stewart, then Councillor McVicker.
As per the long-term plan, the financial liability for council is $8.8 million. Initially, when the announcement was made, the government said they were giving $6 million to this project. I want to know what has happened to the $2 million that has disappeared. And these are some of the questions I wanted to ask at the Lakes DHB, which we were prevented from doing so. Because I understand from your previous reports, Dave, and in this report, that their commitment is only $4 million. Now, I understood that we were creating a landlord-tenant situation, and quite clearly we're not, because they're paying $4 million for the privilege of I don't know what, and have they retained the $2 million for their fit-out, or is the fit-out in the $12.8 million already budgeted for? But I certainly think the community, and I've had a number of phone calls on this, are asking what happened to the government's initial announcement of $6 million, and have they pulled it back by $2 million? So I think that needs to be asked. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I think, Madam Chair, that is a question more appropriately put to the District Health Board, but we'll sort of paraphrase the information that I think we've already talked about in regards to it. The $6 million that was talked about from the government, as I understand it, was an amount that they would approve, but it was always going to be funded by the District Health Board, but it was funding that would need to be approved by the Crown. The District Health Board, as I understand it, have gone through looking at it and have determined the amount of money that they can put into this as being the 4. Council's discussions on this has always been around the Council's net cost into the mix of this, which is the 8.8. However, the contract that we entered into is going to be for the full sum because we are the lead in the mix of this, and therefore we will be invoicing them in accordance with the agreements that we have. So the contracts we're entering into is for 8.8 net cost to council. Total costs of contracts and professional advice and other bits and pieces in the mix of it take us up to the 8.8 council cost. $4 million coming from the Crown is the 12.8 that we've talked about when the council gave the agreement decision to increase the funding to that level.
Thank you. Councillor McVicker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Along similar lines as Councillor Sturt, can we get some clarification as to the actual figures? For example, you just quoted the figure of Council's liability is 8.8. You've got here $8.5 million on page 48. Could you give us a summary of our total commitment, which I'm led to believe is 8.5? Total contract we have budgeted in total, 12.8 million, difference of 4.3. I understand the DHB is around 3.6 million. Where is the rest coming from? I understand how much does it all tally up, but which is the correct figure in the first case?
The figure in the report, and apologies for that, the figure in the report should be 8.8. Yep, so our apologies for that. The council commitment is 8.8, 4 million coming from the District Health Board, total cost of the work, 12.8. So in the mix of that, there's costs of design, and we're well down the track in terms of the design. We're within about probably 2 weeks of finalised design, working through the finalised design with council staff and the District Health Board, and also the designers, architects, engineers, and now in the mix of it a constructor, so that they can add input into it as to how that can be delivered within the funding envelopes that have been
confirm that the DHB figure will be 4 million, not the 3.6 million that we were advised initially?
No, the contract documents that we've entered into with the DHB, which have been signed off in that regard, in accordance with the decisions that were made, is a $4 million contribution.
Thank you.
And there may well be. We are having no input into the District Health Board and how they're going to fund the $4 million they're committing to us.
Thank you. Your Worship?
And the question I think that Councillor Stewart raised about how the 6 became the 4 has been asked of the DHB. It's the ability to borrow, and then it is the commitment to the ongoing leasing of the facility. So that is the partnership funding envelope.
Yes, I'll take the other councillors first. Councillor Kent?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Since we've only seen preliminary sketches, when are we actually going to see some plans before we approve this council spending $8.8 million, sight unseen?
Thank you. I think the plans are in the workings actually, but do you want to comment on that?
I think in the mix of that, Council, in making the decision, saw the preliminary designs as to what that was going to be. I think there's a danger if we actually go down the track of saying every element of the detail in the design requires a level of input across the board. There is that old saying that a camel is a horse designed by a committee. So I think in the mix of this, what you've decided you want is a library health hub that fits a sort of conceptual design, and you've seen the conceptual design. You've seen also a developed design at a particular point, and now it's going through the detailed design point. That will fit very, very close to the concept and the other designs that you've seen. But the design process goes through 3-4 iterations, and so really the question is in the mix of it.
Thank you. And we have seen a number of those designs, and they've evolved over a period of time and look quite stunning. Councillor Hunt.
Thank you, Dave. I just wondered, were you expecting 6 contractors to put in for this project? I understand. I mean, it is a flagship project, and I would expect that it would be hotly contested because it is so innovative, and I know that that's how construction people get their work, is that they're seen by their last project. So they're measured by their actions, not by their talk. And I just wondered whether you were surprised that 6 had put in for this.
No, not really. No, I guess possibly to the extent of how busy the building sector is, but I think in the mix of it, this is in quite a nice sweet spot for them in terms of size, duration, what it is in terms of, and as you say, a signature. So no, not really surprised that we got 6. Some we're getting less, but it depends really on the size and the duration of the project as to what they're looking to invest in. And sometimes that comes down to the process. When you're busy, the amount of money you need to invest in going through a competitive process, you ask the question whether that's worth it for the size of the contract.
Councillor Gould.
Madam Chair, thank you, Dave, for your report. On page 47, it states that you've got attracted 6 contractors, 3 were shortlisted with a proposal to undertake construction pricing. So the 3 people you got construction pricing from, you've shortlisted now to Fletcher Construction. I'm concerned with cost overruns and what extras the companies can add on or charge on to the council in the future when the project's being built. Examples like the TVNZ complex in Auckland, which was budgeted at 36 million, is coming at 60 million. Now, we as a council can't afford huge increases in the construction costs by add-ons or parts which we haven't properly stated in the process of the price fixing.
Through you, Madam Chair, all I can say on the mix of that is that you're no more concerned about those risks as I and the contract arrangements will be entered into in a way that minimises that risk.
Councillor Webber.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. Just if I could add, if you don't mind, I'm on the working party as Chair of Operations and Monitoring, and I had no involvement in exactly figuring out how things are going. But I would say that there's changes constantly, and the people who are the experts who will be using it, which is the library staff and the DHB staff and all of the users from that will be involved, that work out of 13 sites, are intimately involved in every stage, and top of mind every meeting is all about, we know we have to come in on budget, so what do we have to cut, what's most important. They do that work, they do it very thoroughly, they're very mindful that there is a funding cap, and it's also being managed very well by RDT Pacific. Cheryl Kerner, many of you know, is very mindful of these things as well. So I would just like to say and assure councillors that as far as I'm concerned, there will be no cost overruns. And they're working it out the best they can. I'm just trying to somehow have a bit of wow factor we're all looking for it. But I was assured when I went down to our temporary opening for the library that I think they'll manage it. Lots of very good people thinking outside the square. And I think it's going to be an excellent facility. And we do need, as a council, to get this moving today, because if we don't, that's where you get the cost overruns, if it's delayed and delayed. We need to get on with it today and make sure that it happens. We've got half of our library stock in storage, and they're doing a great job at the moment. Temporary people are loving it, but long term, we need to get back there and fulfil the project that we agreed to. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Webber. Now, Councillor Stewart.
I now share an element of confidence knowing that Councillor Webber is on the working party, and thank you for those assurances. And I just want to make the final comment, Madam Chair. When we put together the LTP and the long-term budgets, we had all the design concepts then, and they have evolved over time since then, obviously, but we certainly had the perception of what the building would look like, what the children's hub would look like, and we've had that shared around this table a couple of times, so nothing's new. I accept the advice, Dave, regarding the partnership funding, but I do support what Councillor Rank said, that 400 of the 750,000 that RECT gave to the DHB for this to happen is involved in their 4 million contribution, so there's still money left over. And I just wondered, Madam Chair, was there any opportunity, whether there was an organisation other than central government, that we could get some assistance for funding our 8.8, or is it too late for that?
Well, I mean, there are a number of trusts throughout the country, I suppose, that we could apply to. Yes.
Well, we are actually. We've got someone applying for funding, but that's really to have additional things in the library. Yeah. Well, just to have the things that will make it more impactful. Not the basic. We've got to do the basics right, and that's what that 12.8 is for. The roof, the leaking roof. We know all of those stories, so I won't go on. But it's just for extras. We'd like some more if we're able to get any. But we're not relying on it. We're not relying on it.
Your Worship.
I just wanted to say that the hospital has shown, the DHB has shown their ability to come in on budget when they built the $89 million hospital. They came in on budget and to time. And they are the partner that's working with us through Cheryl Kerner and Nick Saville-Wood. You couldn't get a better partner in terms of reliability for delivering on time and an innovative building. So I've got every confidence, and I like the fact that other community funders have also come in. I think that says a lot about adding to the value of an innovative building and an innovative design for service delivery, especially around our children in the library. And just a comment to you, Dave, and your team, the transition process to the transition library has been simply outstanding, and the public feedback is absolutely wonderful.
Councillor Kent.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I stand by my earlier assessment of this project that I consider spending $8.8 million worth of ratepayers' money when we can achieve a library hub and a health hub and a reconditioned library for about $4.5 million is totally irresponsible. I also object most strongly to what I see here is very plainly an attempt to ensure that this process cannot be stopped by any incoming council. I will not support this action, and I do not believe that responsible councillors around this table should support this action either. This decision should be made by an incoming council.
This decision is actually business as usual. It's business as usual. A decision was made some time ago. So thank you. Thank you, Councillor Hunt. Councillor Hunt has moved, seconded by Councillor Whipper. Thank you. So we've had sufficient discussion on that. Yes, Councillor McVicker?
The comment, Madam Chair, that Councillor Sturt made, that it was, he suggested we made the decision at the time of the long-term plan. Well, at the long-term plan it was $5.5 million. Since then, as we know, another $3.3 million has been added to it, and for that reason I will not be supporting it.
Thank you. Well, then in that case, yes.
Councillor McVicker made some comments there that are slightly misleading in the sense that, yes, there was an amount approved through the LTP, but it's come back to us twice since then, and it has gone through by a majority decision. Just because some councillors don't like that, the reality is it came through to us twice in my memory. And so it's to say that I'm not supporting it because it hasn't been through. You just actually it didn't go the way Councillor McVicker wanted. That's all that happened.
And councillors will vote accordingly. I am going to now put that motion. It has...
I just speak to that, please?
Certainly, yes.
It's a bit of mischief to say we could do it for $4 million. That was before we understood the magnitude of the problems in the building. And, you know, plucking figures out of the air, and again, for my colleagues here to, as Councillor Whipper has said, to say that we didn't agree, it is within our funding envelope. That's why we have a funding envelope, so we can actually build something to the level it requires. And it has been analysed to the nth degree what is required to build this facility. We know we have Dave Foster on there, and we know we have the DHB and their accountants poring over this. So it is a very rigorous project. And it is going to go forward. This is business as usual for this council. We make the decisions, we sign off the contract price, and to suggest otherwise is simply mischief making.
Thank you, Councillor
Hunt. Point of order, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Hunt. As the mover, you have had the final
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I am going to put the motion now. I will not accept a point of order. I'm going to put the motion, and that's the second one there, that the committee recommends to Council that the Chief Executive be delegated authority to award a construction contract once pricing has been tendered and confirmed by Fletcher Construction, and provided it is within the overall approved budget envelope of $12.8 million, less funding committed for the associated professional services. I'll put that motion. It has been moved and seconded. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary? Thank you. Addition? So all those in favour, please raise your right hand. Those against the motion, please raise your right hand. So thank you.
So through the chair, those councillors voting for the motion were councillors Tapsell, Maxwell, Sturt, Councillor Hunt, Raukawa-Tait, Councillor Weber, Mayor Chadwick, Councillor Gould, Mr Berriman Camp and Ms Morrison, and those voting against were Councillors Sarank, McVicker and Bentley and Councillor Kent.
Thank you very much. The motion is carried. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Yes, Mark. I was very sorry.
Under standing orders, when Rob Kent asked for a point of order, he should have at least been given the opportunity to respond. That's what
Thank you. Thank you for that comment, but I am chairing the meeting. Right, resolution to exclude the public. Now, we do have one item to be discussed in the public excluded session. The reason being, obviously, to enable any local authority holding the information to carry on without prejudice or disadvantage. So I'll call for a mover and a seconder that the committee move into public excluded session, please. Thank you, Councillor Stewart. Thank you, Councillor Hunt. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, thank you, carried. We will take a 5-minute recess. Thank you.